So I might be a little late to the party here, but I just wanted to express how excited I am. Being a huge video gamer, news like this makes me really excited. So about a week, maybe 2 weeks ago, Lucasfilm has decided to branch off from their partnership with EA. EA has now lost the exclusivity of all Star Wars video games, and now they've rebranded it to Lucasfilm Games, and they're finally doing what they should have just done so many years ago when Star Wars was starting to make a comeback. They were making movies and TV shows and books and starting to make new video games. Lucasfilm Games should have just been universal in the first place. Lucasfilm Games should have been able to go to any production company it wanted, and they should have made games with all different types of video game companies who had a passion for Star Wars. Instead, you gave it to EA for at least the past 8 years, and now, this isn't just me, there are tons of people who are more ethical and much more wiser in the video game industry than me, but we all know how scummy EA is. We all know how dirty they play. We all know the secrets and the lies they love to do. We all know the hugest issue with them is their microtransactions and their pay-to-play or pay-to-win concept, which is currently ruining video games as we speak. We know they're at fault for so many things, and unfortunately EA won the bid for the exclusivity, which within 8 years, they basically did nothing. They gave us Battlefront 1, a new Battlefront, which did not live up to the hype at all. It was just 4, 5, and 6, the eras 4, 5, and 6 from the movies, and there wasn't much you could do. Then a couple of years later, they gave us a Battlefront 2, which gave us all the eras, but still with a huge lack of content. And as we all know, the loot box issue, which haunted the game for a couple of months, and they inevitably got rid of it and they revamped the entire game. And hear me out here on Battlefront 2. I like Battlefront 2. I think it's a lot of fun. I think the game really improved and they added a lot more content as the game went on. But I still do hear a lot of people defending the game in the sense that, you know, when the game came out, it was terrible, but when it released, it was so much better and they did so much for its community. And my response to that is, well, not quick enough and absolutely not enough. There are still so many missing characters we don't have in that game. There's so many missing maps. There is just so much content that should have been in number 2 that we're just never gonna get. They also gave us what I think to be is possibly one of the best Star Wars games ever made though, which is Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. You play a young Jedi named Cal Kestis who's on the run from the Empire, and he's trying to find a holocron which houses the names of all the infant children that have the potential of being Force wielders and Jedis in the future. And it's his job to get this holocron and teach them in the ways of the Force. And if you haven't played the game, how that ends up happening, you'll have to play for yourself and find out, because I'm not going to spoil it for you. If not, there's tons of things on YouTube and Google that'll just do that for you. Now, with that being said, one of the best Star Wars games coming from EA, why did it take you 8 years? Why did it take you 8 years to basically make 3 games? They just came out with another game about 2 months ago called Star Wars Squadrons, and it's basically Battlefront. It's just you're flying in space. It's just ship battles. I might be picky here. That's part of Star Wars. It's part of the concept. But Star Wars isn't X-Wings. It's not Imperial fighters. It's not TIE fighters. It's nothing like that. Star Wars is the Force. Star Wars is Jedis and Siths. And yes, there are so many other stories you can get about characters who don't have the Force and who don't have lightsabers, and you can still find enjoyment out of that. I just find that the new Star Wars era has found it very hard to give us exactly that. And I mean, this is more about the video game aspect. EA just has not lived up to what they should have been. One of the biggest video game companies in history, and they could only make 4 Star Wars games in 8 years. Give or take 8 years. And only 1 or 2 of them ended up being good. So it's fantastic to see that Lucasfilm Games is now just going to so many companies. And the amount of rumors we have now of who's going to be making these games and what these games could be about is what Star Wars video games should have been when Lucasfilm and Disney started to push out Star Wars content for the first time in 10 years since Revenge of the Sith. It was their time time to start pushing out so much Star Wars stuff, and EA just couldn't do it. Now, with that being said, because EA has a lost exclusivity, it does not mean EA cannot make future games. For example, all the rumors we have, a Jedi Fallen Order 2. Now, that's not a rumor, that's a fact. We are getting a sequel to Jedi Fallen Order, and it was made by Respawn Entertainment. For those who don't know, Respawn Entertainment was and is a division of EA. The rumor for that game at the moment as well is we are supposed to be getting Darth Maul in the game. I don't know how true that is and how much weight that rumor has, but if Darth Maul does show up in that game, let's just say the timeline of the game and the timeline of the movies and the era between 3 and 4, it would make a lot of sense if Darth Maul even just remotely shows up for a mission or two. It is also confirmed that Ubisoft, who is very famous for making all of the Assassin's Creed games, they are making their own open world Star Wars game. The details at this time are unofficial. We don't know who you will be. We don't know where you'll be. We don't know what type of game it is really going to be, if it's going to be an action adventure, an RPG. We're not too sure yet, but Ubisoft is going to be making their own AAA Star Wars game. I mean, also too, in a couple of months, we are going to be getting Lego Star Wars, which, I mean, hey, you know what? As a kid, when I played the originals, I found so much enjoyment out of those games. And now that this one is coming out very soon, I can only just say it's going to be so much better, because there's going to be over 300 playable characters, there's like 25 planets you can travel on, and there's all the eras. There's episodes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and if you want to consider them 7, 8, 9. But the game in general does look really cool, and I mean, once again, loving those games as a kid, I have so many fond memories, so I'm definitely going to be reliving those with this game. There also is a rumor of a Battlefront 3 being in development, which I think is very needed, considering that, in my opinion, I think Battlefront 1 was a failure. Battlefront 2 started off awful, and it kind of eased its way back into being a decent game. It is by no means perfect, and they have so much work they have to put into a Battlefront 3 to make it perfect. There's so many missing characters and so much missing content. They could actually benefit from making a Battlefront 3. Now, if Battlefront 3 is being made, I don't know who's going to be making it now that they've branched off to all studios and all companies being able to make a Star Wars game. Now, maybe it would go to EA, considering EA has the most experience when making Battlefront games. I am very weary about that because we've seen how stingy they are with the amount of content you get at release. They would have a lot of work to do if they're going to make a Battlefront 3. A Battlefront 3 is not a game you can take lightly, and it is not a game that you can just say, okay, here's a trailer for it now and it is releasing this day next year. You got to take your time, you got to put some hard work into it, because third time's a charm. You can't have it end up how number 1 and 2 ended. Now, with saying that, it could very well go to another company. Maybe another company has a different route on a Battlefront 3 and they know they could make it exactly what the fans have always wanted it to be. When you hear games like Battlefield 6, which is coming for next-gen consoles and is also a developed game from EA, when you hear a game like that is gonna be having something like, I don't know, I think it's like 100 on 100 online players or something crazy. When you hear a game like that can be doing stuff like that, and we all know Battlefield has been so great with content and multiplayer, and Battlefield in general has always been good with what players want in their Battlefield games. If they can do that for Battlefield, why can't they do that for Star Wars Battlefront? That's how they should definitely be looking at it. So If the rumor is true of a Battlefront 3, which I am sure one day we will be getting a Battlefront 3, we just don't know if it's from EA or if it's someone else, but I do have a feeling that at the end of the day it's going to be EA. Now, one of the biggest rumors is Knights of the Old Republic. For those who don't really know about this game, it was an Xbox exclusive. They are older games. They come from the early 2000s, and it's actually made by BioWare, the creators of my favorite game of all time, Mass Effect. So before Mass Effect, they made Knights of the Old Republic. It, to this day, is such a cherished series. They're fantastic games, and this is coming from someone who's never even really played it. I've just kind of watched gameplay, and I know how the story unfolds. Knights of the Old Republic are true Star Wars games, and the rumor is right now that they're being remastered and remade playable for next generation consoles. Now, I don't think it'll remain an Xbox exclusive this time around. It will definitely be coming to PlayStation 5, in my opinion, especially too because I have a PlayStation 5, and it would only be fair. Now, to go on with that rumor is the idea that the group who made those games for BioWare and EA all those years ago, after those games were completed and finished, those people left BioWare and went off to create their own company. Apparently, they are working on a Knights of the Old Republic 3. Now, where it gets a little interesting is there's not much confirmation, one, if either of these are true, if the remastered 1 and 2 idea is true, and if a third sequel into these games is true. Another thing we just don't know is when Disney bought Star Wars, they decanonized Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2. They made those games not part of their continuity. So it's a question of, are they recanonizing these games? And if they're not recanonizing these games, is this number 3 of the Knights of the Old Republic going to be a mashup of 1 and 2 with new ideas for 3? We don't really know what's going on with that. Once again, these are all rumors, so take them with a grain of salt. The only things that aren't rumors are Jedi Fallen Order 2, and even the one rumor you have to take with that is the appearance of Darth Maul. We don't know if that's confirmed. And the Star Wars Ubisoft game, we do know that is real as well. But everything else here is just rumors, but the point of this video was really just to say that these are more video game rumors that we've got in literally a matter of a month or a couple of weeks than we ever got when EA was developing Star Wars games. We already have somewhat confirmation or simply just rumors of 5 or 6 potential Star Wars games coming out within the next year or two than we ever did with EA developing Star Wars exclusively. And I think the greatest part about this all is the fact that it is Star Wars, and pushing out content the way they are, as long as the story's good, it's probably the best way to go. Star Wars, in my opinion, has never been oversaturated. And they made this big excuse that when 7, 8, and 9 were failing, it was failing because it was being oversaturated. And no, Star Wars was not oversaturating the market. They just had bad storytellers, they had bad writers, they had bad people at the helm who couldn't give you satisfying Star Wars content. So no, Star Wars was not oversaturating the market, and I think this is the way to do it. People love Star Wars. Why EA, being one of the biggest video game corporations to ever be around, couldn't do what now all these other corporations are doing? Blows my mind. You know, the last Star Wars game I can actually sit here and say I truly loved, like I could have played it over and over and over and over again, was Star Wars The Force Unleashed. The concept was amazing. The story was great. The game was so cool. Being able to be a Sith or a Jedi and almost like a Batman style, like free flow, you know, and just using the Force to its full potential, that was a Star Wars game. And we haven't had something so exciting like that since 2008. I'm pretty sure that game was 2008. It's time to get back out there, and it's time to really show everyone what Star Wars is all about. And now that Lucasfilm has branched off into LUCASFILM Games, their new banner, and they're now allowing so many other companies who have visions for Star Wars games and want to put their stuff out there for everyone to play and everyone to see. This is how they should have done it when Disney purchased them in the first place. Anyways, that's my thoughts on Lucasfilm Games, and that's my thoughts on what the future holds for Star Wars gaming. Being a huge gamer, I can't wait to see what Star Wars has in stock for all of us, and being a huge Star Wars fan, it's just nice to see that Star Wars games are not dying out anytime soon, or probably ever at this point. So until next time, talk to you guys soon.